Hey guys, welcome back to another With You, With Me job market video. I hope you're all staying safe out there amongst the crisis. I don't know, we're all kind of separated from the world, but looking at the headlines, comparing what's happening in Australia versus Canada versus America versus the UK, etc., it does seem to be getting a little bit better. Maybe that's just me, maybe I'm completely wrong and just an idiot, but that's the vibe I'm getting. Either way, fingers crossed. And I hope you're all spending this time to upskill yourself and really make yourself in demand in the job market for those that have been laid off and need to find something to do now or in the future. Or, you're keeping your job and you're fortunate that your employer is taking good care of you, but you've just, you want to make yourself more valuable, more likely to get promoted, etc. Either way, I hope you're taking care of yourself and using this time productively. In this video, we're going to be going to New York City to look at the data science job market. Why New York City? Very simple. It is where Wall Street is, which is the financial capital of the world. And if you know much about financial trading these days, it's essentially just algorithms that trade for humans that run off historic data sets with complicated financial models to help the computer make a decision when it looks at the data. So, not surprisingly, they need a lot, almost caught myself there, almost swore, they need a lot of people trained as data analysts, data scientists, data engineers, etc., as well as the software engineers who then program the machine learning algorithms, but we'll get to that later. All right, guys, without further ado, let's get into it. Okay guys, let's go through again, like we did last time, the parameters through which I collected this data to contextualize the data set I'm about to provide you. So, as you can see at the top of the screen, the state we are looking at today is in New York, and I've taken this data from the time period of the last 12 months, from April 1st, 2019 to March 31st, 2020. The titles I looked for were data scientist, data analyst, and data engineer. And the way the algorithm works is that it collects the data from anything associated that's been tagged to be associated with those sorts of career titles and fields. So we'll get a variety of other job descriptions in there as well. The key thing here is that to see is that in the last 12 months, there have been over 34,000 job ads posted for something to do with data in the field of data in general. And those 34,000 have been posted across 12,211 different employers. So there's quite a few companies in the state of New York looking for data professionals. Of the 34,516 job ads, there have been 27,647 of them actually included the salary advertised with the job ad. So when I get to the salaries tab, you can rest assured that those salaries are actually going to be pretty accurate and what you can expect if you're looking for a data career in New York City. All right. Again, as I do in every video, just very quickly, here I've got before you the way in which the data has grouped the job categories so that you can see which job titles essentially mean the same thing, because a data entry clerk is the same as a data entry specialist, which is the same as a data entry operator, data entry associate, etc. These are all relatively the same job. So very quickly, I'll scroll down through the list and then you can pause the video just to re-educate yourself if you want to have a better understanding of which jobs mean the exact same thing. So I'll do that now. All right, guys, so now let's look at the job titles. What are the main jobs that people are hiring in New York City in the data field? And just like last time when we looked at Florida, you'll see that number one up the top is the data analyst. Of all the jobs that were posted, 4,844 of them, which is double data engineer. The next one, they're looking for entry-level data analysts. And fortunately for you, data analyst is what we train you to be through the With You With Me program. So if you're looking to get into data as a field, or you're looking to upskill yourself to understand how to use tools like Google Analytics for your own private business that you're creating on your own, then coming to us and doing our data analyst course is a great place to start. After data analyst, you can see we now have data engineer, data architect, data entry clerk, data scientist. If you do our data upskilling pathway, starting with the data analyst course, you will learn to be able to do all of these top 5 professions in time as you finish the data analyst course, then move on to the data scientist course and the data engineer course and the data consultant course. That pathway, which is being built out by us, will cover all 5 of those top professions, which means if you start the data analyst course now and follow us on the journey, then you will be able to get a job in the data profession very easily, even in New York, which is probably, one of the more competitive job markets out there. Okay, now we're going to have a quick look at where the jobs are in the state of New York. On the list before me, you can see that New York City, being New York, is top of the list. It has the grand majority of jobs in the data field with 24,000, which isn't surprising at all when you consider that it's where the major metropolitan and business hub is, but also it's where Wall Street is. So Wall Street and the financial markets use a huge amount of data analysts and data professionals because of the amount of data they're crunching on a day-to-day basis and the models they're building off of that data. But surprisingly, these next few places that come up, Erie, Westchester, Nassau, and Albany, Suffolk, Monroe, Kings, Queens, they too also have had quite a few data jobs posted over the last 12 months. To make this easy for you though, I'm just going to show you a quick map to make it more easy to digest, I suppose. So you can see here, the areas of the state that have the highest concentration of data jobs over the last 12 months, you can see are darker in color. And every state that has had a job, every county that has had a job posting over the last 12 months is also colored in, but is not as dark. So you'll see that there have been data jobs all over the state of New York over the last 12 months posted. For example, here, Shenango, New York has had 23, and it looks like an area that isn't actually got a huge amount of data jobs, but they've had 23 in the last 12 months. Here, Ulster has had 19. To make this even easier, what I'm going to do quickly is go into a heat map and show you the key hotspots for data jobs if you're thinking about getting into the data profession in the state of New York. So the more surprising ones I found, which took me a bit by surprise, were over here in Buffalo, up near the border with Canada, is a hotspot for data professionals. Up here near, what would you call it? Greece, North Hamlin, to be specific, Grandview Beach. Not exactly sure what's causing that. There might be a small little financial trading firm up there that has been posting or hiring a lot of analysts or data analysts over the last 12 months. Up here is Syracuse. I assume that's got to do with the relation to the university. Albany area has another hotspot for hiring for data analysts. And then here are the not surprising ones. So not surprising ones are up here, which was Westchester. Why Westchester? There's a lot of hedge funds and financial trading firms out there, so they need a lot of analysts. And then along here are your New York City firms and hotspots. So they're segmented up, not by the geographic location specifically, but by the county. So these 3 counties that relate to the city. And then out here on Long Island, not surprisingly as well, because a lot of the financial trading firms have decided to set up shop out there because real estate's cheaper and those who are in charge don't want to commute into the city on a daily basis. So if you're looking to get into the data field, these are your hotspots across the state. So I'll do an overhead view, make it super easy. Zoom out a bit. but you've got around New York City, up at Long Island, I believe that's called, out near Westchester, Greenwich, Connecticut area, Albany, Syracuse, Rochester, and Buffalo. So if you're looking to get into the field in the state of New York, that is where you want to be looking for your jobs or trying to live somewhere that you're in a commutable distance to it. Okay, now to what I suppose most of you care about most, which is how much can you expect to be paid if you enter into the data sector as a professional in the state of New York. So the state of New York pays above entry level or above the national average for entry level data positions. The median wage you can see here, which would be about 50 to 75th percentile. You are most likely, as an entry-level data analyst in the state of New York, to earn between $90,000 and $100,000 a year. So considering that if you come through us, and especially if you're a veteran or you're a spouse of a veteran or you're a family member of a veteran, and you get your training through With You, With Me for free, you can go through a 6 to 12-week training course, depending on how quickly you move through it. And then at the end of that, you can walk straight into a $100,000 job and a new career that is only going to grow. And the way these high-tech careers work is that there aren't enough people trained in these skill sets, so companies poach employees from company to company. So say, for example, you entered at $90,000 a year, which is the median 50th percentile, at, say, for example, a small financial institution or a large financial institution. Within 6 months, you're most likely going to be approached by a recruiter on LinkedIn or something asking you, hey, I've got a data entry role at another bank or another company, and they're looking to hire you. Would you be interested in the position? And you would go from, and with the change of employer, you would go from 90,000 to say 120,000. And the more experience you have under your belt, the more your salary would increase, because not only is there a lack of supply of people with data professional skills, but there's even larger lack of supply for people trained in data who then have on-the-job experience that you would have. So every day you spend in the job, the more you're going to become in demand for recruiters, and thus your entry-level salary of around $90,000 to $100,000 a year will quickly be up to the 130, 140, 150 range, probably within 12 to 18 months. Okay guys, and lastly, now that we've gone through what the jobs are, where the jobs are, and how much they are paying, let's have a quick last look at who is actually hiring. Because as I always say, at the end of the day, you need to apply somewhere, and so you need to actually know who to target your efforts on. So in the state of New York, you can see that the largest employer of data professional data careers is IBM, and then JP Morgan Chase, Deloitte, Anthem Blue Cross, KPMG, Capital One, Bloomberg, the Bank of New York Mellon, Amazon, etc. So the big ones, I would say, are those who are getting over about 150 people a year that they're hiring. And so that is the top 10 here. To make this easy though, and I'll come back at the end of this and I'll scroll through this slowly so you can see all the employers, and you can pause the video and just go through it in detail. But before I do that, I've gone through again and I've broken it down and highlighted which organizations are of the same persuasion, so you can see what the sectors are that you'd be working in. Because at the end of the day, if you're going to be a data analyst, it's not only interesting that you're actually doing the job of analyzing data, but you've actually also, it helps if you're interested in the actual field that the company you work for actually works in, because you need to contextualize the data you're analyzing to the wider market, and you're going to be much better at it if you actually care, because you're genuinely interested. So what I've gone through here is, if you're looking at the blue, you can see there's quite a lot of blue in the largest data employers. And not surprisingly for the state of New York, the blue are your financial companies. So IBM, that's not financial. I need to fix that. I screwed that one up. But JP Morgan Chase, Capital One, Bloomberg, BNY, M&T Bank, Goldman Sachs, Citibank, American Express, Bank of America, Morgan Stanley, Moody's, Ernst & Young, etc. So you'll notice that one of probably the largest employer of financial analysts or data analysts in the state of New York are your financial companies. Your second, again, not surprising because they're everywhere, are your big consulting firms or your managed service providers. So your Deloittes, and these are the ones in yellow. So your Deloittes, your KPMGs, your Accentures, your PricewaterhouseCoopers, your Capgeminis. These companies, McKinsey and Company down here, these are just companies where you go there, they figure you're smart, you can do data analysis, and then they just move you from project to project where you just do stuff for other companies. But that's basically what they do. The next big player in the state of New York is your healthcare sector. So Anthem Blue Cross, Memorial Sloan Cancer Center, Regeneron, Aetna, Pfizer, New York, Langone Medical Center, New York Life, Cigna Corporation. So healthcare sector, obviously a lot of our medical records are going online. That requires data analysts, whether you're from a drug company, reviewing drug test results, or you're working for a hospital, looking at managing and organizing and analyzing the data of all the patients, or whether you're an insurance company that works in health insurance that is trying to build statistical models to help assess the risk of a patient, etc. And then the last big category in New York are your tech companies. So a lot of your companies like Amazon, Spotify, Oracle, Facebook, there's another one here, Microsoft, Google, a lot of these major tech companies that are collecting all our data and then need to figure out how to structure and organize it in a way that they can then sell advertising to other companies that want to advertise on their platforms. They obviously have big headquarters in New York City, and so they too are a large hirer of data professionals in the state of New York. So before I scroll through all the companies and so you can review those, the key takeaway about employers for data professionals in New York is that you're probably going to end up working for a company that works in technology, being computers, or a tech company like Facebook and Spotify, or you're going to work for a financial company, and then you're going to work for a consulting company, or lastly, healthcare is the big one. And the notable mentions that run up to these four key categories, which you see here is Columbia University, York University. There are quite a few universities in the state of New York who are looking for data professionals, either to help them with their back office stuff or because they're looking for them to help them with the research. And the other notable mention is, surprisingly, your entertainment industry. I didn't think about this originally, but it makes sense. I mean, you've got so many large entertainment networks like NBC and stuff that came out of New York originally, and they still have a large presence there and a large headquarters there. So they too, especially as they move to an online infrastructure, the same way that Netflix is, or Apple TV, or Amazon Prime Video, etc., they're capturing all that data on their users, and they're trying to figure out how to make their products more addictive and how to optimize the algorithms so that they can actually increase the stickiness of the product. They too are looking for data professionals a lot in New York City. All right, that's enough for me on all of that. Look, I'll just very quickly scroll through the major employers in the state of New York, from the largest employer of data professionals down to the lowest employer of data professionals, obviously excluding those who aren't hiring them at all. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and that'll be it for this one. guys, that brings us to the end of our video. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you got something out of it. By now, you should have a pretty good understanding of the employers that you could possibly work for and what sectors you could be working in if you were to go through our data analyst course With You With Me and start on our data pathway as a career. The key takeaway things are the main industries in New York are finance, healthcare, entertainment, universities, financial institutions, and the big consulting firms. And the majority of the jobs are in around New York City, up Long Island, and then in up around Greenwich and Westchester, and then far left over at Buffalo in top New York, and then Albany, up top of the state. Those are your key hotspots. Having said that, there were about between 10 and 30 data analyst jobs posted in many different parts of the state. So it is possible that you could do our course if you live in remote New York, and you should be able to find a local employer within a commutable distance that might be looking for data analysts, especially as there's an over demand and an undersupply of trained people in the field. All right, guys, otherwise, hope you enjoyed that. Until next time, stay safe.